to pump out when she was just entering an era of being somebody we were more focused on her dating life than we were on her music for a period of time.
Yeah, are you a Swiftie?
I am not. I'm not an anti-Swiftie either. I think I like the fact that she spoke her mind and took a risk to talk about, her political views and her views about women and other things. I think that's really of value. Kudos to her for taking that risk. I think it's awesome I think she's a good songwriter, and I think it's awesome that she has achieved so much. I'm very impressed by her. I also am impressed. I loved when she sued that guy for $1, the guy who harassed her, and won $1 as a lawyer. I thought that was also badass. That she did that to make a point. But I'm not her music's good. I like some of her songs, but I'm not super into it.
Yeah, I kind of I'm open to becoming a Swiftie. I actually have a few friends my age who are. But mostly I feel like I know a lot of people who their kids are, their daughters are, and they're their big graduation gift is to get their daughter Taylor Swift tickets in London. And I wish I were that mom, but my daughters, I don't know, I feel like it's a club that I'm not a part of that I would be open to being a part of, but I'm not, and I'm not really sure how to do that except by just listening to the music. I agree with you on the political front. I think she's really badass, and I love that she speaks out. I love that she encourages people to vote. I love that, in many ways, the backlash against it only elevates that piece of it. And I love that she has so many loyal, devoted followers that those exhortations will hopefully have some effect, to go register to vote and to make their voice heard. So I think she's, from a pro-democracy standpoint, I admire her and support her.
Hey.
There we go. They keep changing the fucking layout for Discord with all their updates.
Yeah, I find the menu that I use to set my microphone and headphones, it's 2 clicks deep. It's always settings, voice and audio. I always got to switch it around. Sometimes if I open a video game with Discord open, it'll switch up my audio configuration, and it's kind of annoying because at least for now, I always have the same microphone and the same earphones every time. And it's weird that anything would change that except for me going in and changing it. It's it tries to automatically be smart, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, speaking of annoying, Apple is fucking annoying. So
yeah,
I have
found,
Apple.
Yeah, they're definitely getting worse these days.
Well, and this is the thing too. I mean, their photos, for instance, that's been around for a long time. And when you put photos in, you have no choice. You can't organize them the way you want. There's only one way to organize them, and that's when the date the photo was taken. Problem is, if you edit that photo, copy paste, do this or do that, it changes the sequence. So I have a bunch of photos that are out of sequence. So what I have is albums, and I created albums on photos. So 2007, high school years, 2008, 2009, so on and so forth. And I put my photos in there, and they're all organized based off of my naming convention. And I put them in, and completely fucking disorganized. Because it, again, organizes it only one way, and that is, the main way, the main library, is the date it was taken. And the album, you can then organize it based off of its title, but the title isn't the name for the file. And you can't go in and select all and then make the title the same as the name of your file. Unless I guess you have some sort of add-on app. It is the most complicated bullshit. And in order for me to go in and correct this and work around the fact that they don't have sort by name, it's going to take me about, 15 hours. And I don't have that many photos because I have to go in for every single fucking photo and manually change the date it was taken so that it's in the proper chronological sequence in order
And that's
for
that's like an annoying thing to change too, because then you don't know the date. Like it's nice to know the date it was taken and have that be independent from like the sort key, but yeah, to like sort of you have to like mess up the date that it was taken just to get it the right order or something like that.
it is bullshit. And I'm not the only one that's had this issue. I looked for answers on Reddit or whatever, or Apple customer care, and everyone's complaining about this, and Apple has done nothing to change it. And it's
What do
like,
you
okay,
like how do you order them? Why do you want like a specific order?
oh, because like when I look back in time, I want to see things as they happened, right? Like I don't want to have like one photo from my Wanda Fuka
Oh,
trail
yeah.
at the beginning of my set in 2014,
Oh,
and
and
then
then
another
it's
one midway,
because
and
yeah, you're
because they're
saying
all
like the
fucking out of
date
order.
it was taken, right? Like
Yeah.
because you copied the file or something, so it reset the date and then it gets
I
out of
fucked
order.
it up. Yeah, I fucked it up. I
Yeah.
did a tweak, an edit, whatever, and it changed its date. So like I'm trying to show my buddy Seb here, hey, I want to show you the Wanda Fuka Trail so you can hate your life and want to join me next year. I go, yeah, I want to show off, right? And pull up the picture and it's all fucking scattered. I'm like, ah, bullshit.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah, I
ripped them
guess.
all off.
Yeah.
Huh? I was saying like I ripped them all
Well,
off
that's yeah.
photos to try to manually organize them again. I'm like, oh, this is gonna take a fucking. It's gonna take 5 hours to go in and rename them. It got all messed up. I
Right.
don't. So this is the kind of shit that pisses
Hmm.
me off. Like these guys are supposed to be like top programmers, best tech, easiest tech, seamless integration. Fucking art meets computers or technology. This was Steve's vision, and they fucked the dog. Like it's horrible. And they haven't done anything about it. And that's how many fucking people do they have under them, and no one has just added in a basic sort by
Yeah.
title. Come on, guys, for fuck's sakes. And if I don't want um I don't want all these options like location or my pets or face shots. Like I don't want all these fucking options. I'm a minimalist. I want my library and I want my hidden ones so like girlfriends can see like the naked chicks that I have. I want my deleted bin and then I want my albums and that's fucking it. And I can't even customize it the way I want. It pisses me off to no end. I want to go full Apple. I really do, but they're making it impossible. They really are.
Hmm. Yeah, these days I find we always want like a specific thing from software, and the only defense is like basically like we have to do our own programming, but even then sometimes that's not enough. Like the way they lock down, like they'll lock down their file types or the ability to export or something, and then we don't even have the ability to like write our own program that would fix the issue. But in this case it sounds like we probably could like if you have a bunch of photos and any attribute of the photo does allow them to be sorted in the right order, then it would be pretty easy to write a program that like looks at the photos in a certain order based on like say title, and then just assigns dates that are like that would cause them to be displayed in that same order. And you could write it so that it like preserves dates where it can, and then modifies only a few dates to get like the right photos into order. But that would actually be kind of fun to write a program like that. But I guess that being said, there's probably some actual there's probably an app that will let you batch edit. Like probably you could drop your photos into some app, tell the app like what key sorts them, like the title, and then tell it to just like set the dates accordingly so that the dates line up. Like basically there's probably like a magic like fixed dates option.
I know, but I shouldn't have
Yeah.
to download an app to work around the fact
Yeah.
that Apple has not built in a basic common sense sort into their photo thing. Like I shouldn't have to work around that.
I'd be pretty interested in writing that
create.
program though.
You work
I get
for
too
Google,
excited
though,
about fixing
right?
little stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, why don't you just go talk to Apple and say I heard about this and let me fucking fix it for you for $100,000? You got enough people bitching about it. You could easily fix that. Like, what the fuck? Reach out to them and tell them, dude, like, I can't. It's a 3-point-something trillion dollar company. I can't figure this out. It blows my fucking mind away. Even Microsoft has this. Like, this is just. I can't even. I just
Yeah, I
popped up
think
my
they
laptop and I threw
sometimes
it in the
I.
corner because. What's up?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes they intentionally leave stuff like that out because it makes you like if you take all your photos with your phone and they're on your phone and they never leave the Apple ecosystem, then they'll be sorted in the right order. But then it's like they punish you, like if you move your photos between devices out of the Apple ecosystem at some point maybe, then they like, stuff metadata gets messed up. And then when it comes back into the Apple ecosystem, it's like they want to remind you that you left, and so they punish you by by pretending they can't like read the photos or like can't put them in the right order. And they like that because it's like by making their product worse, they encourage people to use it more and remain inside of their like ecosystem. And sometimes that's like the negative motivation for like intentionally doing that stuff. Like the web browser Safari, it's a lot worse than it should be because Apple wants to promote apps. And like if the Safari web browser was good and the internet was good, then a lot of people could just make and use websites, but they intentionally like have a very small like support team around that browser and they don't implement like new features because they want, apps to be like good to use, and then in comparison websites bad, and that because they make a lot more money through apps. And that's like another example of how like they have all the money in the world and the best engineers, but they intentionally make things bad to like direct consumers to like a product that makes them more money or something.
Okay, let me think about that for a second. Yeah, because the web is owned by Google, and they're fucking advertising their search engine. So
Yeah, there's the main browsers. Yeah, like Chrome. A lot of people use Chrome, and that's owned by Google. And then there's
right.
Safari. Apple's very heavy-handed about like Safari being the default on iOS, and even Chrome. Like, yeah, Safari is very dominant. Like, if you're using a phone, probably you're using Safari. And then Firefox is kind of a third option for browsers. But of the three, and then I guess Microsoft has like Edge or whatever on their platforms.
Yeah, so I
But
guess
basically, yeah,
Safari.
those four.
I was trying to cut out Google because I'm all about
Yeah, I tried to cut them out
minimalism,
too.
seamless. Like
I went with
Google.
Firefox.
Yeah, Google's tracking me, knows where I
Yeah.
live, knows what I like. It's pushing me ads. I don't like it. And like I tried out GoGoDaddy or what's this? DuckDuckGo. And
Yeah, I
basically
used that
like
for a while. Or I
yeah,
actually that's what I do use for search. I use DuckDuckGo and I use Firefox that's a browser and a search engine.
so I tried out DuckDuckGo and then I went to Pornhub and it was like, okay, yeah, so that's nice. And Google whatever is trying to track you twice. It said like it was trying to follow my whatever. And it also demonstrated too, like there's this scorched, like this flame that basically eliminates. Let me press it. Close tabs and
Oh,
clear data. And all you got to do is
yeah.
press, boom, all of your shit's gone. So if you want to browse pornography and other stuff that can get you in trouble with your partner, DuckDuckGo is the way to go because yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
So
there's also a lot of browsers, like incognito tab. You can open like an incognito tab in browsers, and that's supposed to not track you, but you never know for sure if it's doing it or not.
yeah, so like I don't want to be tracked, and I don't
Mhm.
want people pushing me fucking ads that I don't need. I definitely don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah, ads and news. That's what pushed me away from like Google search engine, was that I think they started trying to put ads on their homepage, and I find like seeing like garbage news about whatever the topic of the day is so distracting and annoying that I consider like news that I don't want. Like if I don't want to see the news, then I consider it to be like ads. Just trying to like pull my attention.
Yeah. News is absolute fucking garbage across the board. Basically, just honing in to the fact that we're attracted to negativity. It's an evolution thing where we tend to focus on the negative because it helps us survive. If we remember the bad shit that happened to us, then it's unlikely that we're gonna let that repeat. Just given like the very quick breakdown of how it works. And news like just takes that full fledged. Like you rarely see anything good. It's all bad, 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 bad. It's bad that sells. Like Lord of the Flies, completely made up, sold cajillion copies, taught in the fucking school curriculum, all made up, not true. There's actually like a real life Lord of the Flies where like kids were stranded on an island and they thrived together. They didn't kill each other. Like it's stories or things that bring out the worst in humanity. Like right now, I'm watching Fallout, the series. Love it, but basically shows like people will try to kill each other and annihilate each other in any chance that they have. But it's actually been proven over and over again. Like World War II, there's actually like scientists and studies that have done their checks and whatever else to prove that it was during World War II that people actually came together. So the bombings, like in the U.S., like it made the population come together. The economy thrived as a result of the bombings. It didn't destroy the will of the people, as the Germans thought. And when the UK retaliated, trying to crush the will of the Germans, no, it made the Germans stronger too. Actually, it was shown after the fact through studies that the bombings made them more resilient, increased the economy, and increased the production of tanks and aircraft by over a factor of 10 for each. It prolonged the fucking war, is what it did, because it made the people come together to endure that hardship. It's crazy, absolutely crazy, and the studies were done to show this. So it's when the worst hits us, we come together. So what I think is like Canada, given how fucking soft it is, it's never been occupied. And whenever we send our troops over, like it's all like none of the people see the front line. And so people are complacent. We have a culture, community, a society that is complacent, lazy overall. Like they don't have to worry about protecting their sovereignty. All we need is a basic shitty army, navy, air force that meets the minimum requirements of NATO, which it doesn't. Fuck, it's laughable. I mean, our entire navy can fit in one of the American destroyers. It's ridiculous. Our CF-18s are ancient, and we're just going to buy the old scrap fucking fighter pilots from the U.S. It's crazy. It's just that's how safe and far removed Canada is from conflict. And it has shaped a weak, complacent people as a result of it. And you know what? I'm not complaining. I'm quite happy that most Canadians are untouched by war. It's the soldiers, like you see it with the World War II vets coming back. They're right fucked. And they didn't have the support that they needed, and it destroyed families, and that trickled down. There's like this chain of abuse or psychological or just mental illness that has happened because of PTSD. You get a father who blows up, drop of a hat, walk on eggshells. One moment he's okay, the other moment he's not because he's struggling. And I say he because I'm sure some ladies that had some exposure to stuff. I don't know actually. I'm sure that they played their role, but are they traumatized from the war? That I don't know for sure. A lot of the men were the ones that were over in the front line. I'm not sure if the ladies were there in a first aid capacity and a med tech capacity. I have never actually connected those dots, so I should probably do that soon. But like a lot of men come back and they've seen their friends turn into pink mist, had their lives threatened, their mortality threatened, just like snap of a finger, they could be dead. That does something to the mind. And then they're expected to raise a family and go back into like society. That doesn't work. And so they beat their fucking wives up, and they treated their kids like shit, if not just beat them up. I mean, my grandfather is case in point. Actually, he went to the fucking deep end and became a pedophile. No, sorry, incest pedophile. A full-fledged evil, full-fledged evil. Beat his kids, hurt his kids, physically, mentally, sexually. Just destroyed the family. Okay? So, I'm not saying it's PTSD gave the excuse for him to do those greater evils, but even just PTSD alone, like a lot of soldiers who came back hurt the people who were closest to them. So yeah, okay, that's a small little example. And
But yeah, the trickle down makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm trying to get to the point is most of the Canadian population hasn't seen conflict or hasn't been touched by that. It's the soldiers that come back that individually are broken from that experience. It's different than as a people getting attacked and getting fucked up. When you are attacked as a people, you come together and persevere. The soldiers and what they experienced that on the front line, and as brothers, they fucking endured it and they fought for each other. It's actually why the Germans fought as hard as they did, even though they knew at one point they were losing. They fought until the very last moment, and they didn't do it for their fucking Nazi regime. They did it for the brother beside them. They did it for their comrades, and it was actually the generals made sure that any division that went out, any new recruits, like if they didn't know each other intimately, they would actually pull them back until those relationships were built, because it's through those relationships, those bonds, that they were able to fight as hard as they did. It's crazy. So the Germans were a greater, more powerful, more resilient fighting force than the Allies. So likely because of the bonds that they formed, they're stronger than ours. It's still, brotherhood through basic training, whatever else. They built some bonds. It's not the same anymore. It's all different now, the way the training is, which I won't get into. But they come from that. They stick together, but then they have to reintegrate into a society where no one understands them. That doesn't work. It's when everybody understands the same hardship and enduring that together that they persevere. Canada has never faced that, but when you got countries like fucking probably most of it in Europe are probably tighter and closer together because of the fact that they endure shit all the time together, at least back in the old days. With the rise and fall of empires.
With the different like wealth classes in society, like I feel like people from the middle class face hardships that are like from the middle class sort of thing, and like, I don't feel any kinship with like the ultra wealthy, and I can't like put myself in the shoes of the super poor, but the day-to-day like worker that gets grinded, I feel like I can identify with those people that like we're trapped in this middle class and we never escape. And it feels like we're being sort of squeezed. And I feel like a kinship with people who have that same mindset kind of thing. They can relate to the same like war that's being waged on us or something.
Yeah, I don't feel it anymore because I pulled away from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it.
I don't know what you'd be in now, like where like you feel you've escaped kind of, and maybe I guess you meet other people that have escaped, and then you feel like you understand their mindset or something.
Yeah. Are people that are like in transition, as they call it. Like they're trying to figure out they realize that that's not what they want, but they still have to make some money. They're not happy with their lives because they're not like, they're not brainwashed. Like they're kind of waking up to it, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so they know they want something better, but they don't know how to obtain it. There's a lot of people who are like in transition trying to figure it out. And I meet those at like the Burning Man, right? And there's some who are like CEOs, doctors, and they party the hardest because they need that release more than anyone else. Like you get right into the cocaine and go on benders for days. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they do it because they need to do it. They do it because it's just fun for them and that's how they enjoy their time or what's up. But I imagine like it depends on why you're an entrepreneur. Like if you're doing it just for the title and you're doing it for like the credit or like to be liked, wrong reason. If you're doing it because that's truly what you are, and you honor that, and you just fill gaps with ideas, and you like creating systems, and that's what brings you joy. And I don't think you're going to need that release because every day you wake up doing what you love to do. And we seem to admire and love entrepreneurs because we tend to think that they make tons of money, and we're a society that, well, at least North America, I guess other capitalistic type places value production, and they link productivity to how much money you have. And they think if you're CEO and you make billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, you're worth a lot and you're valuable. We tend to associate money with value, which we're supposed to do. But so I can see why people chase after that. But it has to be for the right reason. It's because they're doing what they love. And I think it's having an honest conversation with yourself. It's like, what do I want? We often force ourselves into situations because we're expected to show up or perform. And like for instance, tonight, I'm invited to an evening out with two couples, my buddy Seb and one of the couple's daughter. It's her birthday. It's her 13th birthday. And I'm invited out to come and join this. And I'm like, the expectation is that I show up. I'm invited, they want to get to know me better. I'm excited about them. It's going to be a great time, live music. And I'm like, I should want this. But I don't. Deep down,
I can relate to not wanting it also.
Yeah. But like deep down, I don't. And I think it's because this isn't my home, and this won't be my home. Seb loves it. He's invested. Yeah. He wants to call Mexico his home eventually. For me, after being here for 2.5 weeks, I'm like, no, this isn't where I see myself. I'm not invested here. The one couple are Seb's. They're the godparents to Seb's kids, to one of his kids actually, Luca. Yeah. And the other couple are owning the Airbnb that we got cheap from them, and they give us kombucha, and it's great. But they are here, and Seb wants to come here and visit here, so I can see him really wanting to go and build those connections. If I come back here, it's for Seb. It's not for any of them. And so I'm like, I don't want to go. And I know the expectation is that I go. And I said, Seb, I'm not going to go. I need to honor what it is that I want instead of what everybody else expects from me.
Yeah.
Even though I know it can be a great night, it's just, I don't want that right now. I really don't. So I have to listen to what I want, truly. And just
That's good,
do
yeah.
it.
That's very hard to do sometimes. Yeah, it takes, because there's like a pull towards what people expect. And if you push against that, it takes a lot of energy to get away. And then, one would hope they have enough energy left over to sort of like realize the thing that they want also. But sometimes it's like, it's hard enough to get away that it leaves you kind of tired when it comes time to do the thing you yourself want to do. You end up just like sitting around or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm starting to listen to what it is that I want. And it's interesting how what we want, I don't know how to describe this. When you start listening to what your needs are, what your body's needs are, what you as a person, what you want, what you need, I don't know. I almost feel like it's its own separate entity that you now have to be mindful of. And it's when we don't listen to what it is that we want, like what we want and what we don't want. It's so weird. Just like, why are some people homosexual and heterosexual or bi? Like, what's with the preference? Why do we prefer one over the other? Why do we find one attractive or the other? Why do these attractions or like the fact that we are not attracted to the same sex or whatever? Like, why does that exist? Like, what is that? What drives that? And then there's kind of a weird question. I don't know if anybody's ever asked that, but it's like, why is that? And then it's like, why do we want some things and have like, are drawn to some things and then not so much other things? Why do certain things interest us and then not other things? Like, where does this come from? Like, why does that work? It's like, Is it because of our personality? Why does this resonate with us and this doesn't? I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to that, but it's like we are the way we are. We like what we like, but really why? And the way it's like, I know I'm asking this, probably doesn't make any sense. Like where my mind is, it's like sometimes when I look at what it is that I want and who I am, sometimes I do it like from the perspective of outside my body, and I look at like
Yeah.
Justin like as a separate entity, and I don't know. I think it's called metacognition. It's like
Yeah,
being
it could be.
aware of how you think.
Yeah, zooming out is like another word, like zoom out of your first person perspective and see things as a more from like a higher perspective.
Yeah, but being aware of how you think. I think it's called metacognition.
Yeah.
And I think it's like sort of a step up. And when you can do that and you can pay attention to why it is that you think the way you do, I think that's how you can solve anxiety and depression. Because I think both of those feelings or those states or those, some they call mental illness actually, I think that they stem from us not listening to ourselves. So anxiety, for instance, like I know that it can be just because of foods that you eat. So, like for instance, if you just have carbs and sugar by itself and you sit on your fucking ass, you're gonna feel anxiety because you're gonna have this rush of sugar and you're not using it, and it can make your heart rate increase, your blood pressure increase. You know, like it's. I just had that happen today. Also, alcohol can sometimes do that to people as well, and there's that. But then there's also the anxiety that comes from just like worrying about stuff that you 99% of the time have no control over, like all the what ifs. And then there's just, and you know, that could also be because maybe you're living a life that you don't want to live. Like, you don't want all these due dates and all these pressures and expectations, and they're being forced upon you and you have no control. And maybe that sense, that lack of control is creating that anxiety because that's not what you want. You want to be in control of your life. Like, we want to, I'm pretty sure we all want to feel a sense of control because
Yeah.
I can tell you, I definitely don't like being out of control.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
very yeah, for me
yeah.
that's true.
And then there's like the depression piece. Why do we feel depression? Well, it's big reason is because we're all taught to be individuals. Even with like the houses that we buy, if we have a daughter and a son at a certain age, they need to have their own room. We have to have our own space. We are our own individuals. And when we're tired or need to do homework, we go into our own space. But this is relatively new. For the longest time, I don't remember what exactly when it started. Like medieval times, I'm pretty sure everything was communal. We all like lived together. We all share the same space, especially during tribal times. And you know, this whole idea of the individual, like we're not programmed to be that way. We're programmed as a collective. And when we start to be our own individual, it creates issues because it goes against the programming of evolution. So, but this is it. Why do they do that? Why does the institution literally force it on us? It's illegal in North America to make your daughter and son share a room at a certain age. After a certain age, it's illegal. You have to
Oh, that's
separate them.
interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
you have to separate them. You can't. And sharing a room with your son and your daughter, just like one room. I don't think that's allowed. Like
How
I
does
know with
that work
renting,
with like if a family's poor and they don't have like multiple rooms? I wonder what the deal is there. You have to have maybe a
you
curtain or something.
every single fucking penny you have goes into getting a room that allows you to do that. Like so, for instance, when I'm trying to rent, when I was gonna in my place in BC, I had a couple from Mexico with a bunch of kids that wanted my place. I only got 2 beds in there, so 2 rooms, and they had a bunch of sons, a bunch of daughters, plus them. And my property manager said, "We can't entertain this because we can't allow them to be in that space given that setup because the daughters and the sons need to have different rooms by law." And that's where I learned about this. I was like, well, fuck. They were willing to pay the rent that I wanted, but because of policy, and law, they can't actually have my space. They need to have a 3-bedroom place. So it's like institution one is like making us so that we all have to be segregated and have our own individual room. I'd be okay, yeah. So like brothers can share the same room, but a lot of time, like the push is for us to have our own space. Now, then this is tying into the depression piece. So there's that. Then there's also like being forced to do the 9 to 5 grind, the 40-hour work week. And, you have to do that in order to pay your bills and to have a home and do what society expects you to do. Right.
Yeah.
And if you work your job to have that, and then you have that likely because of, if you have a career, because of your career. And I kind of became aware of this when I started to lose buying power. So I'm making 6 figures in Canada, overworked to the point where I'm exhausted. And I'm like, I have no fucking buying power. And that's because of COVID and, the government printing money and inflation and interest rates going up. I was like, this is crazy. And then I created a balance sheet. I learned about money that forced me to evolve. And I'm like, wow, when I look at all my liabilities, my houses are not assets. They're liabilities. They're costing me tremendous. I don't have any car payments. I don't spend crazy. And yet I have no buying power. I have enough to live and I'm in debt, actually. Like I have no ability to save with my salary. And then I got promoted to major. I was like, actually, there was no choice. I was like, you need to promote me to major. Like, I need it now because I can't afford to live in Ottawa. And it's not a matter of the position of work I'm doing. I just can't afford to live in Ottawa. You're fucking killing me. I'm in the red. Actually, I was at the point where I was about to almost had to carry over credit card debt. And then I got back pay and I was out of it. But I was so close to having to carry over credit card debt and pay interest. As a minimalist who barely buys anything, it's because I had 2 mortgages that were variable. I got fucked. And then lock in. Was following old financial knowledge, which is a liability. So I started to question, like, what is going on? I'm working this fucking job. I'm paying money to go into work. And then while I'm at work, I'm paying to park. And then I work this job that doesn't even pay all the bills in a geographical area that I don't want to be in. And I think I've talked to you about this before. Like I'm in this area paying this crazy fucking mortgage and all this insurance, all this other stuff to be close to a job that I don't want to do, that I'm forced to do, that I could do remote. I should be in BC right now. It's like where my mind's going. I'm like, why the fuck am I here? Why am I stuck in this cycle? And I never questioned this before. I never questioned it before because I was making enough money to do whatever I wanted. I was happy. But then I started to wake up because I had to. I was getting suffocated. So anyway, tying back to, went on a bit of a tangent there, back to depression. Depression, I think it's us settling for a life that we really don't want, that we haven't evolved for. Like this whole 9 to 5, staring at a computer screen or being on our feet all day and being in an institution. So whether it be school or an old age home or a prison or in the military or in the police force, anything that has a chain of command or a hierarchy where you're stuck and you can't escape is like an institution. When you really think about it, the middle class is like an institution. We're stuck. There's no way to get out. You have to do it, otherwise you're gonna be on the fucking streets. And there is sort of a pecking order. Especially when you like have to work a job, like there's a pecking order at your job, and you have to follow the rules and contribute and produce in order to make money to survive. And if you don't, well, then you end up on the streets. You lose what you have. And in institutions, this is where there are bullies. And if you're forced to be stuck in an area that you can't leave, this is how you can be vulnerable and be picked on. So I'm learning about all this stuff, and I'm like, no wonder I was always fucking bullied, is because I was constantly in with these things are called total institutions. And we're all stuck in this institution in a way, oppressed by the government. And yeah, it's not a life that we want to live. We just don't understand. We don't know what's going on. It's like it weighs us down and we're super depressed because we're doing something we don't want to do.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely all seems true. Yeah.
This 40-hour work week thing, it came from the Industrial Revolution. Before, they would work crazy fucking hours, and then you had to create rules. They're like, oh, okay, we have to give you a break. Actually, I've heard back in medieval times, they had tons of holidays, and the work days weren't as long. Actually, it was a better way to live back in the medieval times, and I'm going to look more into that. But then, yeah, so that was linked to land, and you couldn't really work all the time. You farmed the land. Wealth was linked to land and what you could produce, and then eventually Industrial Revolution came along, and it just became all about production. And so it was all about industry. And then so people would just work crazy hours, and that was it. But eventually they came up with okay, we got to limit it somewhere where people aren't being having to work crazy 16-hour fucking days. And so they made the 40-hour work week. We don't need that. We definitely don't. Not in the information age. And that's what we're in. We're in the information age so medieval times, old times, after agricultural revolution, land was power. And then industrial revolution, then industry and production became power. And now it's cutting edge information. Information is power now. It's wealth. And before agricultural revolution, well, humanity was good, actually, when you look at all the evidence. Can't say the word, archaeological, help me out. You say it? Archaeological? I can never fucking do the...
archaeological or anthropological or something?
Both. They're studying of people, but then also studying, digging up the shit to be able to kind of do analytics of how we were. So basically everything from agricultural revolution onward, there's evidence of violence and trauma and skeletons being slashed up and murdered and lynched and fucking brutality to the extreme. And before agricultural revolution, before we settled down and started farming, barely anything like that. It was death by natural occurrences, by predators, no signs of brutality. Maybe the odd one here and there. So it was when we all started to come together and become stagnant as a people, and then our population blew up, and then we had neighbors.
Shortage of resources too, especially in that local area. If there's more population and then a fixed area, yeah.
And it's okay, if you didn't like it, well, you want to go back into the bush, you couldn't, because your neighbors also blew up in size too, and people don't like what's different than them, and that's a problem. And this is proven that even with just children, babies, infants don't like what is different than them, and they can pick up on it. So, for instance, there's studies done on infants, and basically, why is it faded?
Wait, what?
It's the study, and it shows some sort of bias. So infants will. What was it? Oh wow, it's faded. I got to refresh it. But basically, it's just it showed that you think that babies like what's nice, treating people good, little puppets. They're doing experiments with puppets to show the babies okay, this is a mean puppet and it's hurting this puppet, and then when they could choose between the puppet, they would pick the kinder puppet for whatever reason. But then there was yes, that was it. So they incorporated a cookie, and then the same thing where the mean puppet was beating the shit out of the nice puppet, but the mean puppet liked cookies. and the babies like the cookies, or the infants like the cookies, right? And then when the choice came, they picked the bad puppet.
That's
And it's
cool,
because
actually, because
they could relate to the bad puppet because the bad puppet also liked cookies.
Huh.
Holy fuck. We like what's similar to us. And in psychology, it's not just with infants, it shows it over and over again. We don't like what's different than us. And so if our neighbors are different than us, we're going to be suspicious of them, especially if they're a different skin color or speak a different language, right? And this still happens today. We still don't like what's different than us.
Yeah, I wonder how curiosity plays into this because like I really feel like I'm driven a lot by curiosity, and if I see something that's different, I'm very curious if something, if someone brings up like an opposing viewpoint, or I learn that like I have biases and things are hidden from me and there's people that I overlook or something, then I become very curious about like seeing the other side of the story and giving other people like a platform just to uncover stuff that apparently like I glaze over and I miss from my own biases. And then it's annoying to me when like someone that's like me is saying stuff that I agree with in a very powerful and confident way. It makes me feel like surely they're hiding something, or they're missing something, or they're they're paving over some other truth that is being lost, or something that I would like to learn more about. And that's what I feel is sort of like I always want like the beaten down voices or whatever to like tell their story, because that's the one that I'm not going to hear about unless I really seek it out and promote it and stuff. And then usually, yeah, they have just like a equally valid point, and there's just like a winner and a loser situation. And but then yeah, it's we always, at the end of the day, we always like choose the winning side just in case we need the extra security or something. And but then that just, yeah, it always leads to if you keep choosing the winning side, then you become like just this dominating thing that starts to crush other people, and there's no way to get out of that. Sometimes like you can't like start giving. There's no like thing in society that lets you easily give back and spread out power. It just keeps accumulating like faster and faster.
Yeah, I keep reading. If you find yourself on the side of the majority, watch out. Like, wake up.
Yeah.
Something's up.
Yeah.
And so the thing
Yeah,
too
'cause
is like
then, yeah.
if you want to be wealthy, don't do what everybody else is doing. As soon as everybody else is doing it, well then there's not as much money to be made from what it is that you're doing. Anything you're starting to near a peak because everybody else is doing it. It's you have to get into things before other people are doing it. So it's just like if you find yourself on the side of the majority, like why is that? You have to be very careful of groupthink as well. Groupthink is very dangerous. It lowers the intelligence of the group, really, to I think the fucking stupidest person there. And it's just like, but you gotta. If everybody's like, "Oh yes, praise Jesus, oh holy Lord, oh praise Him," and you're like, Jesus isn't real." Mate, if you start doing that in like in a fucking church or whatever, where everybody's sort of like kind of echoing off of each other, oh, praise Jesus, yes, Jesus, praise Him. And you're like, yeah, you're not going to be welcomed. They're not going to be open to your suggestions or your arguments because they all are like convinced that their faith is real. And it's like,
yeah, it's always so scary in those situations where you realize everyone holds like a certain belief and they're not willing to question it, and then you just really want to meet someone who does question it, so you can feel like you're free and you're allowed to think your own thoughts and stuff, instead of be like forced into some like stereotype that like conform or something like that.
it's very uncomfortable to be on the side of the minority. Even if you have good arguments and you're like, you say something, when you have 10 people looking at you who like, and they're all your opposition, there's strength in numbers. And even if they're wrong, but they're convinced that they're right, they're going to want to like quiet you and make you conform. And that's the problem with like being in an institution that you can't escape, is like you have to conform. Otherwise you get destroyed. And that's how it's been for the longest. Like you can't just pull away. Well, you can maybe get away, but like if you're dependent upon the village or the city or whatever, especially like, you know, kind of like before now we can be individuals and sort of get away with it, but you know, the consequences, depression, anxiety, and mental health issues. But beforehand, I mean, you want to leave the castle, man, where are you going to go? To your neighbor? He's going to probably fucking lynch you for having an accent. Like, I don't know. It's like your options were limited. And so, and religion being what it is, a tool to oppress people, control them. You know, people are brainwashed. Also, for the longest time, illiterate. So they're relying on the word of the Holy Bible, who is, you know, translated and then conveyed by these bishops, whatever, and they're all just fucking power hungry puppets that, you know, want to control the masses. That's all it is, and it's just people still buying into it today. It's crazy. My mother's so fucking brainwashed. She thinks that she can grow a third set of teeth if she prays hard enough. And it's just like, you know, it's at the point where it's like I almost have to use the Bible against her. It's like, you know, it says in this passage that God helps those who helps themselves. You can't expect him to give you back your health if you're not doing anything to get your health back yourself. You know, I have to like use their own tool against them to make. It's just like it's only the word of the Bible, in my opinion, or even science. Science is wrong. Science is the devil.
It's tough if there's no, you know, if there's no evidence that anything stands on, then like, you know, if they have they read the Bible, they have a certain view, and you read the Bible, and you tell them the opposing view that's like based on the same non-evidence based like text, then they can pretty much choose whichever they want because they don't have there's no foundation for any of this stuff. You know, like it's hard to get out of that cycle if, you know, everything is as valid as everything else because nothing else has a way to prove or disprove it. And that's like a trap kind of. They don't have like a leg to stand on pretty much.
Here's a fact. You can't create or destroy matter. And you can't make something from nothing. Okay, so it's I basically just said the same thing twice. And here, in the beginning, Adam and Eve. Eve was created from the rib of Adam. Well, just from like, you know, when you weigh the mass of a rib and a human being, it doesn't pan out. So now you're creating something from nothing. But God can do anything. But yet it's a law. You can't create or destroy matter, and you can't create something
before
from
that
nothing.
I guess he created like the whole garden and the whole universe. You know, and so the rib thing is like a small trick
But he
compared to
didn't.
creation of it.
He didn't. The elements came to be because of exploding stars. And through fusion, you had heavier elements made in the core of the suns that went supernova, exploded, created dust. We were all made from stardust. And that was sort of like not the beginning, but, you know, as the universe expanded. And then you have these nubella with all these heavier elements that were created from the fusion furnace of the sun. And then, once things cooled down a bit and the incredible force of gravity, which is still a mystery to me. It just blows my mind away. And I guess it's just because mass interfaces like on the space-time dimension, and it puts like a how do I describe it? So like in our three-dimensional world, we have like a sheet, a fabric, and we put a pin or a point, and we put pressure on that fabric. Then it creates like a comb. And then if something comes at it at a certain speed, the right speed and the right mass, it's going to just kind of circle around it, like what the hell is it called?
Well, it's
With the sun
orbiting.
rotate. Oh yeah, so it orbits, but then it's not like a perfect circle. It's interesting because it's not a perfect circle. It's like elliptical. It's it's like an egg almost. Like it gets closer at some points and further away at other points, and not all orbits are the same. So that part still blows my mind. Like the why is that? I think it's because when it entered the orbit, it entered in a certain direction, and so it goes. It's going at a certain velocity. It slows down. It curves, so it's further away. Then it starts to come back, but it comes back and it's closer to that. Well, the sun, the center body of mass, or the center mass, and then it accelerates again as it passes, and it starts to slow down as it gets away. So maybe that's why it's elliptical. But when did that fucking object? When did that enter into the orbit to create that elliptical? I just got to look more into the physics of that. It's interesting. I find gravity is fascinating in how mass attracts mass in general. It's just that when it's small, it has like a negligible attraction. Like it's still there. All mass attracts mass, but it's only when it's like larger celestial
Yeah.
bodies that really have a gravitational pull. I just find that it's so incredible, and how the dust kind of all came together to create the planets, and well, the sort of the terrain planets, and also the gaseous type planets. I find it all just mind blowing, and like just how everything kind of came together to create the conditions necessary for life, and how life came to be over time. And just to say that some entity snapped their finger in a span of 7 days, created the planet, it's fucking ignorant, and it's an injustice to the wonders of the universe. It's such a
It's like
simple-minded way.
an explanation that's not needed and kind of boring because it's like it's too easy. What really happened, like all that stuff you said, what really happened is so interesting and makes sense, and we can use that to like make predictions. But then just this like story of the 7 days is like you can't do anything with that. It's not needed as an explanation. It has to like they have to explain away all these different observations we've made that contradict it, and it seems it's
Oh,
like not. It's very like
you couldn't challenge it. Copernican,
yeah.
was it Copernican didn't
Oh yeah, he
produce his
like
work
went to
until he was on
jail
his
and stuff.
dying bed? Well,
Yeah.
did he go to jail or so one of them Aristotle or
Yeah.
Copernican? That was Copernican that was the one that challenged the geocentric model and said, actually, we rotate around the sun. And because the church just restricted anything that challenged to the point where they would like go out and like scorch earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like this fear, like if you challenged the church, even if you were correct or your observations kind of made sense and there was evidence, like you'd be lynched, you'd be fucking murdered. And so I think it was Copernican or the guy that it was Copernican must have been didn't illustrate his findings until the deathbed. But I think he had a friend do it, and the friend even watered it down as to not insult the church. So watered it down, where it's instead of like, this is fact based off of empirical evidence or whatever, kind of watered it down, like, oh, this is more of a suggestion. And so his friend did him this justice. And I'm pretty sure I pulled that from On the Shoulders of Giants. That was written by Stephen Hawking. It's like a fucking it's a goddamn brick of a book. Actually, it could probably kill somebody. And I just started to like dig into like the giants of physics, like the ones. What pisses me off though is I hear that Einstein stole a lot of his work from his wife, and so I have
He
a hard
bounced a
time
lot of
really.
ideas back and forth. Yeah.
But she's the one that came up with E equals MC squared. He stole it. Like I've heard that, and it kind of just every time I think of Einstein, I just think of what a fucking fraud. Like it's not him. He should have shared the credit.
Well, it's got to be true. I think there's so many female scientists that did so many large contributions that we don't know of. Like every single, Nobel Prize winner in the past is like a man, and every name that something is named after is like a man. But there was always like, you know, women working in the lab, women coming up with ideas, like generating ideas, and they just never, their names never got the credit. And that's kind of like an injustice to women for so long. At least these days, I think they're doing a better job of like highlighting women's achievements, but they kind
That's
of
like,
just got silenced like for such a long time.
that's like taking away half of our capacity of a species from as a species. Like just the whole fucking female side doesn't matter and what they think. They're not as smart as us men. Like that's
Yeah.
fucking bullshit. I mean, that's like, and then like I'm sure like they had crazy ideas, wonderful theories that were just laughed out of the room. They weren't even like given a place in schools
Yeah.
for the longest time. Like, yeah. So glad that we're waking up to that. And even like the Catholic Church, I forget which pope said, you know, science is a good fucking thing. There are people,
Right.
and even if it challenges the book, we should still, I forget which pope this was, but he basically embraced science and said, you know what, we're getting
Yeah.
out of the fucking way. We're getting to get out of the way of scientific progress because we have stifled it over the generations. They most certainly
Because
have.
it would be easy to see too that like we could just say like, you know, we're imperfect human beings and we make mistakes, and like science allows us to like better appreciate the universe. And we could even say like, you know, like let's assume like some kind of god had some role in triggering the initial thing. Like it, by doing science to learn more about that, it lets us like better appreciate if that was the case, you know, rather than like misinterpreting, you know, let's assume God did something. It's like we're misinterpreting what he or she did because we're just guessing, you know, like, but when we have these observations, it's like it's much more complex and nuanced, and that's more impressive of a creation if it was. And then, you know, but ultimately, like I obviously think like eventually we would learn like there's no creation story needed at all because we can just figure it all out logically. But at least whatever part we don't know, we could kind of assume was like a bit magic until we investigate it.
I really wish that we would, as a species, focus our energy into exploring the unknown. Like really pushing AI to the limits, really like pushing automation to the limits, learning how to live in a vacuum, learning and pursuing physics to the extreme, like not charging the fucking population money to go to secondary education. Our goddamn taxes
Yeah,
should be
that'd be
paying
cool.
for this.
And it would be
Really
nice to
should be.
have part of education, like if, you know, like self-help, self-care, like meditation, if all, and even like throw in like lucid dreaming, like if all of that was like a first class citizen part of education, and we also got the hard physics and stuff for free, then it would be pretty cool. Like we would sort of understand how to live happy with nothing, but also have quite substantial knowledge about the universe, you know, and discovering new things would be fun. It would really be more like a way to push ourselves and reward ourselves when like so often we just end up like binge watching TV, and that doesn't really stimulate our mind, and then we feel depressed because we're not like using our capabilities.
Well, all that shit, the TV, I like what you're saying. But all that stuff on
Yeah.
TV, for the most part, is drama, violence, and
Yeah.
it's all catering to the fucking negative part of our brain that's there to help us survive. And like again, Fallout. We're not gonna be like that. Like it's not gonna be like that. I think we would come together as a people.
Yeah.
It's just yeah. I really wish. So I was just saying to my buddy Seb, what we need is we need a threat from the outside, an extraterrestrial threat to unite us as a people. Seriously, really, if we realize that there are entities, there's life forms out there that want what we have, holy shit, you bet your buttons that we're going to be coming together to protect what
Oh,
it is that
that's
we
like
have as a people.
three. That's another show. There's a show called Three Body Problem. It's based on a book, and it's about that. about an alien force coming here and how do we handle it?
Yeah, because sending nukes at it, I don't think that's really that's not it. Because I do believe, I do know, not I believe, I know there's other life out there. In a universe that is as big as this, there and the amount of galaxies that there are, the Goldilocks zone exists around other suns, creating the conditions necessary for life. Now, how old these civilizations are, or how old these planets are that have life, I don't know. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But just given the scale of the universe, statistically, I see it impossible that there is no other life. Like there's other life out there.
Yeah.
If and now depending on how old they are, because there is a certain range. I mean, like you can't have life without the conditions for life, the elements. So after the supernova and stars blowing up to give us the elements necessary for life. So like, there could be civilizations, but and they can only. I don't know how old they would be. I'd have to take a look at the chart to see like the range of when life could have possibly existed and how long it takes for evolution to, like, to go from some sort of primordial slime to fucking monkey that's able to think like we can, like how many years that takes. And then like kind of just looking on the chart, like that range. I haven't done that yet, but I should. But like how old some of the civilizations out there could be. So, I mean, the ones that are on the outskirts of the universe. So I don't know where the center of the universe is relative to where we are, or because the universe is expanding and it's supposed to be from like this center point, like the Big Bang. That's the most accepted theory. It's like, but that's a center point, right? And so if the universe was one moment, like basically when we think of like seconds in time, it was just like one moment it wasn't there, the next moment it was there. But there was like, you look in a basic physics book, there's all these like microseconds and milliseconds where like there's this breakdown of everything that's happening where all like the physicists kind of like, I don't know if it's guess or theorize or basically show like how quarks came to be and like this different steps along the way to like 0 seconds to 1 second, a whole shit ton of stuff has happened. And then the universe was just sort of there and it was already really massive. It was just boom, instantaneous. Like the way it's expanding now at the rate that it's expanding, and apparently I think it's speeding up, if I'm not mistaken, the way that redshift is. But just the initial expansion, it's I don't know, what word am I looking for here? It goes against all rules because things don't travel that fast. That's just the expansion of space and time, like just having instantaneous because of that. So like if that happens and then it expands, where's the center of the universe? And where's the outskirts? I have no fucking clue. And even if you could point me in the direction, we wouldn't be able to see it. But what I'm trying to get is at the outskirts, and wherever we look, we're looking into the past. And so if you're looking towards the outskirts of the universe, I think that's where the oldest shit's gonna be, where things have already happened before we came into existence. So perhaps older civilizations could be out there, more advanced. And here's how I see it. They're fucking far away. Like they're galaxies upon galaxies, like distances that we can't even begin.
Yeah, 100 years for light to travel or more. Yeah.
Fucking 100 years, like 100,000 to a million light years, like ridiculous distance. Like just can't even begin to fucking imagine this. You put it on paper and it just blows your mind away. If they're that far away, the only way they're getting to us is if they can fold space time. That's a guess that I have theory. And any civilization that is able to fold space time can fuck us up without us even knowing it.
Yeah,
you have that kind of fucking tech? I'm sorry, man. We're apes with sticks, and they are Jedi with fucking lightsabers and the ability to control the Force. Like that's the difference that we're dealing with here in technological power. Like, if they can fold space time, we won't be able to see them, detect them, and they can completely wipe us off this planet in an instant, like, without us even knowing what the tech that they have. Yeah, you're saying sorry.
Yeah.
So like,
Just hopefully
I
we
don't.
wouldn't be very much of a threat to them with that like asymmetry, and then maybe they just let us hang out here instead of destroying us like over the weekend or something.
Yeah, and you think with their tech too, they can just create water. You just harness hydrogen from a sun, and or just have your own fusion and create your own fucking water and create whatever you need. You don't need to take from planets. You could just
Yeah.
use the old alchemy machine and create your own gold and create any and everything you ever needed at that point if you have that kind of tech. So then it makes me wonder, why would they invade us and put that kind of energy into doing that?
Yeah.
I figured they'd be more focused on living forever at that point in time. It makes you wonder. Like, we come up with all this stuff like, oh, this alien species is gonna come to us, but there's nothing. I highly doubt there's anything close enough to us. I played this game called No Man's Sky, dude,
Yeah, I know
and
that.
fucking Jesus, play that game, man. Like, it puts things into perspective. If you are a perfectionist and you got to clear everything, don't play that game because it'll take you, was it
Yeah, longer
300
than
billion,
lifetime. Yeah.
longer than the age of the universe to be able to explore every planet on all 255 galaxies that they have on that fucking game. And how they generated that, I think it was AI or something. Like, it must
It
have
was
been.
math. They used like an equation. Like
'Cause the only okay, it's a couple of things like gravity with the land with your terrain manipulator doesn't really work that well. So you dig a hole and there's dirt above you, it doesn't drop. Whatever, it's a small detail. And the other thing is, it's like I'm on this fucking cold planet that can't and doesn't sustain life, and it says no life, and then I grab this egg, and then there's this apex predator that tries to kill me. It's like, okay, apex predator needs an ecosystem. Like, it, no. That was sort of an oversight, and the tech can pick up on that. Barren planet, no life, no eggs, just fucking barren planet. Don't have anything moving around, and that's a quick little refinement that I can probably send to them. Like, hey, tweak your algorithm to make sure that the cold planets, and I haven't seen any gaseous planets. Gaseous, am I saying it right? There should be fucking planets like Saturn and shit where you can't land on it because it's just gas. I want to see that stuff, and I haven't seen that yet. But anyway, I play that game, dude. I play that game, and you just have to accept that you can't discover it all. Only 1% of the starter universe has been discovered, and only 1% of all the other galaxies have been discovered. Like, and since its inception 7 years ago.
yeah.
Oh man, the game's incredible, dude. It's just the scale of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
at
you
some point
play it
it's
or
kind of
no?
like the scale of I never played it when it first came out. It had a lot of bugs, and so it didn't get very good press, but I sort of knew like the underlying premise, like the size of the universe was there, and that was fascinating. And nowadays, yeah, I hear that it has a lot of features now and it's pretty good. I'm still just primarily fascinated with like the technology of generating, like a large universe. Because obviously like you can't like you couldn't fit inside your computer all the data for that universe, and so they have to use like an equation that generates the universe based on your current location. And so then yeah, there's obviously like the current location of your character is like an XYZ location, which is input into the equation, and then like back from the equation you get like your what you would see if you're that character, like from that perspective. Something like that is going on, and that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I've never really sat down and played it. I just like hearing about it, kind of.
Oh, I mean, you
I
gotta
don't know.
play it
Yeah.
because there's PlayStation 4 version where it's like you have your own little world and then you can go online and play with other people. And now they have in
Right.
PS5, like everybody is in the same universe at the same time playing with each other, and like the chance of you coming across another player is like
Yeah.
it's like 0.00001% chance. The only way you come together is if you go to the anomaly, which is sort of like a singularity in space and time where kind of people converge. And then from there, you can do missions together and then go to different solar systems or whatever that you go to together as a team. As soon as you come back to the anomaly and you leave that sort of team setup, and you're going back to your own part of the galaxy, and you just like the chance. I've never met somebody on my own. It's only through the anomaly. Oh, fuck, it's great. I have this whole solar system that's like mine that I use for like mining, and no one else is there except just the other advanced species. Which I don't get how the fuck they're everywhere. It's like such a big, it's a big galaxy. How are they in like every single sector? Like I don't get how these advanced species are so spread out. But I'm figuring out the story.
Yeah.
Yo, you give it a try. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, maybe I
I
will try it. Yeah, I think the idea of like getting in a spaceship and fly, like, because I've heard that any star you see in the sky or whatever, you can just fly straight there after some amount of time,
Yeah,
and I feel like that would be a cool experience. Yeah.
I never actually decided. I want to. So I'm doing the permadeath mode. So I'm not going to do that with my permadeath guy because I've already like 100 hours in. But I wonder what happens if you try to fly into the sun or into one of the suns. Because
Yeah.
I take a bearing towards the sun and I'm like, that's a bad idea. I do not want to pulse drive into that because I am curious to see if your system would shut down. Because like once you're there, it's like, and that gravitational pull starts to take you, can you escape with your pulse drive, which is sort of like sublight speed? Or do you have to use warp to get out of it? And if you have no warp capability because your engines are depleted, you're fucking dead because the sun pulls you in and melts you. I want to know what happens. Oh man, I gotta create another character just to go into a sun. Why I even thought about something stupid like that is because the Stargate universe, the ship recharges by going into a sun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate the chat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was talking to my buddy Mike about our conversation. I was just on the call with him before talking to you. He's actually like interested that we just talk about shit. I don't
Yeah.
know. I was like, it's kind of complicated to add a third person in, but I'm like, maybe we'll have a guest
Yeah.
and we'll call
Yeah,
it
we could bring in.
what it's like to be fucked over by your ex, and let's talk about that.
Our topic this evening is getting effed over by your.
Let's listen to
We're
Mike on
now
what it's like to
joined
get.
by.
He represents half of the Canadian population, which is men who get fucked by their exes and get taken to the cleaners. Let's hear from Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, we could arrange something like that.
That'd be interesting. All right, buddy. Catch you later.
All right, later.